Wonderful.
Oh.
So I'll welcome you in a moment, Lawrence, but I'm just waiting for Julia to give me the nod because we have people that arrive just on the dot.
No, really? I don't believe it.
So we'll just wait a few moments.
They call themselves contemplatives.
Indeed. Lawrence, we missed each other in Singapore airport.
No, were you? Gosh.
Yes, on the
So,
yeah.
so was Karen.
Ah,
Uh, she was there. I tried to reach her. I didn't know you were there at the same time.
yeah. Mine was
Ah,
it was the midnight uh, midnight. So I definitely was not ready to receive or have
were you on the 11 o'clock, 11:05, the British Airways?
the 11:35 Singapore Air.
Oh, Singapore.
Julia, I've muted you. I was trying to mute Carmel Moore and I can't do it.
Okay.
For some reason, I can't mute her.
So Julia, we were waiting for you to say,
I know, but there's still quite a few coming in.
is there? Well, they've all heard that Father Lawrence is giving the talk today.
Yes.
So Benedict's Well Zoom room might crash today. You never know.
Well, they probably thought I was going to be coming in just at the last minute. It was a big error.
I have to say, Lawrence, I was in the middle of sending you a WhatsApp.
Oh no.
I know. I'm so sorry. But we will finish on the hour.
Oh, that was that was typical Janet communication. She begins with an apology and then she tells you what you've got to do.
Oh,
Okay, Janet, I think that's about it.
thank you. Well, hello to everyone wherever you are. I'm afraid once again I'm on my phone. My dear laptop didn't like its journey to New Zealand. So I can see some of you, and I will every now and again move my screen so that I can see everyone. But Lawrence, I think, has greeted a number of you already. And here we are from across the world. And just to be so aware of this familiarity, this place where we can just turn up and be with one another. And of course, today we're going to be able to enjoy listening to Father Lawrence. I know that's always a special time for us at Benedict's Well, and it really is a special time. And so we will wait to hear his words and the talk, making nothing happen. Well, that's going to be a lesson for me, I think, for the rest of my life. But let's just gather ourselves together. Let's find that place of stillness and comfort, and to be very present to one another wherever we are and however we are. O God, come to our assistance.
Oh Lord. Please, oh, sorry. We should turn this off.
Please do. O Lord, make haste to help us. Glory be to the Father, to the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen. And the reading is from Father John Main, Word Made Flesh. Language is so weak in explaining the fullness of the mystery. That is why the absolute silence of meditation is so supremely important. We do not try to think of God, talk to God, or imagine God. We stay in that awesome silence, open to the eternal silence of God. We discover in meditation, through practice and taught daily by experience, that this is the natural ambience for all of us. We are created for this, and our being flourishes and expands in that eternal silence. So as we meditate together, Heavenly Father, open our hearts to the silent presence of the Spirit of your Son. Lead us into that mysterious silence where your love is revealed to all who call. Maranatha, come, Lord Jesus. Well, I don't know about you, but when you hear the gong there, it certainly brings us back to the presence. Thank you, Mary, for bringing us back. So this is obviously a great joy um, to welcome Father Lawrence, and something that I just need to say about the title as a way of introduction, making nothing happen. And I would say that over the last 40 years at least, Father Lawrence has made so much happen through his presence as our spiritual leader and through his wisdom teaching. So we often have a little biography at this point of the introduction, but there's no other introduction needed except a deep gratitude for his presence and his presence today at Benedict's Well. So welcome, Lawrence, and you will see around the gallery people beginning to get their pen and paper ready to capture some of your wisdom words. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet, very much. Very kind. Welcome. I have a question to begin. What time do we finish?
On the hour, so it will be your
10 o'clock. Yeah.
oh, are we the same?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm in London until Wednesday.
Oh, right, yes, 10 o'clock. 10
I
o'clock.
go back, yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, well, I'm giving this talk very much supported by the Jerome Biblical Commentary in Charles Taylor's great new book, Cosmic Connections, because I'm resting my laptop on those two large volumes. And I realize it makes a much better feeling of connection because I'm not looking down into my computer. Anyway, it's so wonderful to be back. I just come back from nearly a month away from home, from Bombo, in Asia and Australia, and now just back for a couple of nights in London before returning to Bombo for the beginning of Holy Week. So it's wonderful to be able to have this little transition and to be able to connect with you and the wonderful work that Benedict's Well has been doing for so many years now. So just a warning, another warning is there are some men outside my window not far away who are definitely trying to make something happen. I don't know what it is, but they're trying very hard, and I'm sure what is going to happen will be worthwhile for the local community. But if something comes flying through the window and interrupts us, you'll understand either noise or bits of metal, you'll understand. So the title of this these reflections, Making Nothing Happen, is of course from a chapter in John Mayne's Word Made Flesh. And like all of his teachings, when you return to it, it's as if you are uncovering a well of wisdom which you had known before, but you are now rediscovering as if for the first time. That's the mark of true wisdom. It's always fresh and, in a sense, always familiar but surprising. As I read it, and it's quite short, so I recommended the whole chapter, but anyway, it doesn't matter if you haven't read it. But as I read it, I was thinking, as we all are to some degree, about what's happening in the Middle East, Trump's war against Iran, to put it bluntly. And I would say many of us would would say, I'm speaking for myself and not putting thoughts onto you, but would say it is unchristian, very unbenedictine, and amazingly unintelligent. It's not clear, even to him, acting autocratically as he does, about what he wants it to achieve. Maybe it's just deflecting attention away from domestic issues, but at a high cost of thousands of lives and long-term global disruption, which, as always, affects the most vulnerable and the poorest among us. It's unchristian because it employs violence, not as a last resort, but as a means of self-expression and making something happen, rather than our trying with patience and consultation to allow something to happen. So it's self-indulgence. And as the Irish poet said, violence is a failure of the imagination. It's unbenedictine because he does not listen to anyone. His way of government does not allow him, as Benedict enjoins upon us, upon the abbot, to call people together, to listen to everybody, even to the youngest, because this is how we should come to major decisions through consultation. And it's unintelligent because, quite obviously, he didn't consider the consequences, which are going to be long-term. So it's a very good example of doing something, of acting without the wisdom that brings us to balanced judgment. The wisdom that arises not from thought or emotion, or certainly not from egotism, but from the experience of being, from what we call contemplation, which is at the heart of this teaching of Father John and of all his teaching, and at the heart of our own daily practice. It's a universal wisdom. It's expressed in the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu when he says, "The master does nothing, but nothing is left undone." The master does nothing, but nothing is left undone. That is an absurd statement to the ears of our contemporary culture and of the mentality that dominates our ways of working, communicating, and being today. And just to be reminded of this wisdom of contemplation shows us what a long way we have drifted from wisdom. John Main recalls us to that wisdom, as so should every authentic religious or spiritual organization or community or individual teacher. John Main also is very clear and practical about a way to do this, about a way back. Meditation, daily meditation. He doesn't say this is the only way, but he does definitely give us a way back. And when he says that meditation is not about making anything happen, we need to stop and listen to the depth and the challenge of that statement. Because even as meditators, we may think, well, of course it must make something happen, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it, it would be a waste of time. this whole question, of course, is difficult to express in ordinary language. So we have to listen to the meaning behind the words. And his words are simple. His words are very simple. They're not complicated ideas and theories. But the more simple, or the more simply wisdom is expressed, the more carefully we have to listen, because otherwise we just move on quickly to the next idea or the next sentence or the next chapter without really allowing ourselves to be arrested by what he has said. And the reason that most people give up meditation or don't get into stride with it as a daily practice twice a day, most people who take a long time to get started or never really get started, but would like to, but don't quite do it, is because I think simply they haven't listened to what is being said in the teaching. Why should we meditate if meditation is not about making anything happen? Well, he says it's because we are unable. It's very difficult for us to listen because we are so tied into the mentality of techniques and production. We have to master techniques, come up with new techniques, and we have to produce something that we have planned. And then we measure outcomes. And all of that is highly abstract. And anyone who challenges this prevailing mentality is likely to suffer a prophet's fate. In other words, you are going to be running counter to the dominant culture and mentality of our time. And that means you will be rejected by that dominant mentality, which is about engineering an event, making something happen. We've got to do something. And then, very insightfully, he says, according to your temperament and your background, what you want to make happen, or what you think should happen, for example, when we meditate, surely meditation is about making something happen, but what it is will depend in your imagination on what kind of person you are, what your background is, what your temperament is, and maybe what you, of course, just want to happen. And he describes three categories. One is visions and voices and experiences of light and that kind of thing, phenomenological mysticism. Or it may be that you are looking for insights, truths, and understanding, and you want to get that knowledge. Or thirdly, you might just meditate because you want to have better control over your life and your problems, sleep better, handle stress better, and so on. So that's helpful when he describes those possible habits of mind that we could be affected by, that we are expecting meditation to make something happen, or maybe a combination of those things to happen. But what he says is that meditation is the opposite of this. It's the direct opposite of it. It is not about making something happen. It's about learning to become aware of what is. And we do that as we learn directly from the reality that sustains us. What does that mean? It means, as we know, it means not trying to make something happen according to our imagination or our desires, but allowing ourselves to learn to become aware from a direct link or direct contact or connection with the reality of the ground of our being that sustains us, from the mystery of God. And the mystery is something we cannot explain, describe, or analyze in the ordinary way, but which we know with another kind of knowledge. So he says the first step in this is to come into contact with our own spirit, our own spiritual dimension. And if we are out of touch, disconnected from our own spiritual intelligence, our own spiritual being, intuition, however you want to describe it. This is why Charles Taylor's book, which is underneath my computer, is called Cosmic Connections. If you want to read it, it's extremely useful, but give yourself plenty of time. But it's a wonderful, and he's a meditator. I've spoken with him about it many times, and it has emerged out of his meditation. But you don't have to read that. All you have to do is meditate twice a day. So what does it mean to come into contact, to make this connection with our own spirit? For John Main, it means discovering the harmony of our own being, that we are not just a confused, discombobulated, contradictory confusion. We are actually harmonious beings. Secondly, it is about discovering our potential for growth, not just survival, but actual potential, which is in fact an infinite potential for growth. And you could say, thirdly, this means coming to understand, to experience our own wholeness. That is, those are the three ways that we could describe what it means to come into contact with our own spirit, and it's transformative. Nothing changes, but everything is transformed. And that is what we mean by the fullness of life. And this is an all or nothing, or you could say an all and nothing discipline, in the sense that it requires a deep personal commitment that nobody can make for us, and that almost defines our unique being as a child of God. And this is what he calls conversion. Liberation from fear, for example, liberation from the anger and egoism that leads to violence of any kind. And conversion brings about liberation and expansion of consciousness. And it is also the way we learn to love God and to love each other, including our enemies. He then describes There's two kinds of conversion that we've been reflecting on during Lent, and we find Jesus talks about external ritual conversion, which is the most popular kind of conversion. You do something external. You put on sackcloth and ashes, or you give up dessert for Lent, which is perhaps the most difficult sacrifice anyone can make. Or you go on a great 40-day fast, or you go on a long pilgrimage, barefoot or something. So the external conversion rituals. And I think, although we don't no longer live in a religious society, public figures today and politicians are forced to apologize or resign in public. Often people don't really believe them, but it's a kind of ritual they have to go through if they are going to survive in any way. They eat humble pie in public and say the right things, but it's an external conversion. Or there's the inner conversion of heart, of course. And meditation is a direct way into conversion of heart. As you know, we've taken the theme of the future of religion as our theme for this year in the community. And it is beautifully summed up, I think, in John Mayne's sentence in this chapter: religion is meaningless if it is confined to external and ritual acts of worship. And that is the process that we are passing through, I think, globally at the moment. When I was in Indonesia, I met with the chief imam, who's also the minister for religion in the government. And I was surprised and delighted to meet him. And he's a deeply contemplative man and wise, and he understands that religion has to change and Islam has to change. He didn't tell any other religion they had to change, but he was talking about his own tradition. And he said, there is no religion, good religion, without dialogue, and there's no dialogue without meditation. So we're in this process of rediscovering and transforming religion in the way that John Mayne is describing here. He goes on to say that conversion is something we experience by learning to be still. In stillness, an awareness matures in us that God has revealed himself to humanity in Jesus, and Jesus reveals himself to us in our heart by the Spirit. Simple words, but they describe very simply the heart, the meaning, the essence of Christianity. He reminds us that stillness is not static. It's a dynamic, energetic. The word dynamos means energy. So it's disturbing to go through this conversion. It's not cozy. It's not just reassuring. It will shake us to our foundations. And certain experiences in life. I was talking to a friend yesterday who lost her husband recently, and she was describing how her life is just, what's the word? I mean, bottomed out. She's just living in this wasteland of grief. So certain experiences in life will do this anyway for us. Meditation is more of a controlled way of allowing this dynamic awakening to happen. And it awakens us to the fullness of our potential. And as Gregory of Nyssa reminds us, that potential is infinite. There are infinite degrees of fullness, infinite degrees of happiness, infinite degrees of of love. And it is when we turn our minds, and this is when John Main says this, he's clearly part of the Christian mystical, well, and indeed the universal mystical tradition. We have to turn our minds from what is temporal and passing and open our hearts instead to what is enduring. Now we do that as we learn to say the mantra. And it isn't easy because our mind keeps flicking back to what is temporal and passing. Our problems, our fantasies, and so on. It's a learning process. And the great way of learning it is stillness. And in this chapter, he has a whole section, well, a paragraph on just reminding us, as an aside almost, about stillness of body. Never underestimate the importance of physical stillness in coming to this interior stillness of contemplation. And he links it to our breath. He's not talking about it as a technique that you have to master, but showing us that the way we say the mantra with our breath, most people will say it with their breath, in and out, that this brings us more directly into an interior stillness, but it is also something we come to understand with spiritual awareness, that this discipline of stillness, at least twice a day, and he says to the best of our ability. So he's not saying you're failed and you're cast out if you can't do it, but do the best you can. That this is how we enter into the death and resurrection of Jesus, which is, of course, what we will be doing very shortly in the mysteries of the Passion narrative during Holy Week. The most extraordinary mystery of our life, he says, is found in this conversion, that what is eternal is love. This is the Christian vision, and clearly it shows Christianity to be not to be a merely moral teaching, but a mystical revelation. So that's what his teaching there tells us about how we approach meditation, how we learn to say the mantra without trying to make anything happen. And I think it's for us, in this centenary of his birth, he died in 1982, it's for us to show and to understand how this wisdom teaching helps us to live today in the 21st century amid extraordinarily dangerous and heartbreakingly painful times. And one of the ways I've been reflecting on that personally has been our language. And I wrote a short little piece about how the language of corporate and political action today defies and denies this wisdom. It's a deeply deceptive and absurd language. Trump uses a kindergarten kind of language when he speaks, always off script, which is very revealing about his own state of mind. But in the language of contemporary business, professional life, and politics in most parts of the world with most leaders, the language is sanitized, abstracted, and dehumanized. And when you read it, your heart drops. It's like reading a letter written by artificial intelligence. You just, you know that it's lost its soul, it's lost its meaning and connection to reality. And this is the public language of discourse, which is hidden sometimes behind the dumbing down of public language. And it hides the fear of not being able to make something happen, the fear of not being able to control how things turn out. And it hides the fear of the meaninglessness of our activity and our planning when it is disconnected from the contemplative mind and the conversion of heart, the stillness, the silence, the being that Father John is talking about. So he offers a simple way, a simple practice that unites us in friendship and in community to reconnect. And maybe alone we wouldn't be able to change the world, but if there are, as the Book of Wisdom says, the hope for the salvation of the world lies in the greatest number of wise people. One wise person that you have probably heard of, who is enriching our community at the moment, has been for some time as a meditator and leading a meditation group, is Tim Shriver. Tim Shriver is an American and part of the Kennedy clan, who has devoted his life to helping people on the margins of society, like the Special Olympics, and is now deeply involved in trying to confront and deal with the divisions and the violent polarization that is affecting his own country and in the States, but also globally. And Tim is speaking tomorrow night in our series on the future of religion, and tomorrow evening. And I think he's really contributing a great deal to the work of our community and is part of our community. And he's also leading the John Main Seminar this year in September in Washington, which we've got the dates, 17th to the 20th, but we're just on the point of fixing a location for it. We hope in Georgetown. So I hope that's been helpful to reflect on just how profoundly transformative to our understanding personally and socially John Main's teaching is. And he's simply speaking out of this ancient wisdom that we don't have to try to make something happen. Of course, that doesn't mean that we are we don't do anything with our lives, but it means that our action is effortless, ideally. That means effortless in the sense it isn't controlled or deceived by our own faults, failings, and egoism. And that's, I think, what grows unconsciously and silently like the seed of the kingdom in us through our day-to-day meditation. So thank you. And thank you all for making the Benedict's Well so deep and refreshing for so many people. Don't know if there's time for any questions or discussion, but if we do, I'm happy to stay on, or if not, I'm happy to say goodbye.
Father Lawrence, I'm sure there could be another hour of people asking you questions and so on. But I also am aware that many of us will listen to it again because it's live recorded, and we do know that up to 300 people, or certainly 300 times, people listen again or for the first time through our YouTube channel. So maybe that might be a place to leave it before I say thank you. I've written lots of notes, and I know many of you have done that and will also listen to it again. But the one thing that does strike me, that you said halfway through, Lawrence, about John Main, the more simply the wisdom is expressed, the more we have to listen. And that is so with you. When we listen to you, to some of that simple messaging, we have to listen very carefully to return to it. And it's one of the reasons why, of course, we rely heavily upon your writing as well as our opportunity to listen to you. And you also said it's all about the inner conversion of the heart, which comes through stillness. And whilst it may be very disturbing and not cozy, it's dynamic and necessary. So thank you. There was so much more I could say. I'm aware now that we are a little over time, but thank you for being with us. And you'll see that all the messages are coming through, Lawrence, that Mary will send them all to you so that you can reflect on what
Thank
people
you.
are sharing with you, rather than perhaps opening it up in the way that you might have suggested. So
Thank you, Janet. Can I just also wish everyone who's on the cusp of Holy Week, wish everyone a very holy week and a very wonderful celebration of the days of Easter. And so thank you.
Thank you. And I think Mary or Julia are going to just say a few words for next week, but we'll close with our Benedictine prayer. May the divine assistance be always with us, with our absent brothers
and sisters.
Yes, very briefly again, a huge thank you to Father Lawrence, and yes, I will be sending you the chat comments.
Thank you.
Next week our talker is Janet Robbins. Her title is The Heart of Our Community, and she's sent us a very brief bio. She's a member of the Benedict'S Well team, an oblate and a WCCM trustee. Most importantly, she is a meditator, turning up faithfully and with fidelity. Simple but not easy. I think we would all agree with that last bit. So it just remains for me to thank you all for being here today. Thank you to Father Lawrence for making it a very special Benedict's Well, and we look forward to welcoming you back at Benedict's Well next week. God bless everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence, again.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Father Lawrence. Wonderful.
Thank you.